All right, so we'll talk today about customer service, how to establish your customer success strategy. And a long time ago, when I started to work in software, helping customers to be successful was regarded by many companies as a burden, an opportunity to sell consulting. There is no way we are doing that for free, was something I would hear a little bit too often. Thankfully, things have changed, and I think you all understand today that the path to your own success is to make your customers be successful. So with that introduction, I'm very happy to welcome our panelists today. So Fanny, if you would like to join us. Fanny is the Chief Operating Officer at Allure System, a fashion tech startup that creates virtual top model that helps retailers showcase their garments. Fanny was before that the CEO of Linkfluence, a social media company. So thank you, Fanny, for joining us. Krish Subramanian is the CEO of Chargebee, a fintech scale-up that handles subscription billing for many extremely well-known companies. Thanks, Chris, for joining us from Chennai, India, to share your experience today. So please welcome Krish. Rodolphe Ardant, CEO of Spendesk, another fintech company, more a startup, that changes the way a company manages spending, from purchase requests to payments and invoice processing. And finally, Gaëtan, please join us. Gaëtan Gachet is the VP of Revenue for Algolia, a hosted search provider with a platform that serves thousands of customers. And Algolia provides solutions that are API-centric, targets primarily developers as the users of their solution. So we have a diverse team here with us today, so thank you. And just to get the discussion started, probably the question that people ask a lot is, when is the right time to start a formal customer success program to deploy a team? So maybe we'll start with you, Rodolphe, because I understand that came pretty early on for you, right?
Yes, totally. And maybe the first thing I wanted to say on that is that more than a team or a function, customer success, and I believe that's something I really strongly believe, must be a company philosophy. I mean, I think it's a founder's role, if you want to build a customer-centric company, to bring customer success into the DNA of your company. And for us, it was so important because the product we're shipping, it's not a replacement product, it's not something people used to know. We're just changing the way people do things, that we had to keep a very strong link with our customers from the beginning. So that being said, yes, for us at Spendesk, it was very early on. The first customer success was myself. I spent a lot of time with my first customers, with the 50 first customers of Spendesk, answering support, onboarding them, learning exactly how they use my product and getting the most insight from them at that time. The first employee at Spendesk, Maëlys, which is not now our head of customer success, was hired to handle the customer success. And then I think it really depends then on how your company grow and the needs you can have in customer success. So the team will evolve depending on the needs. If you want to structure them between support, customer success, account management, that's something that can come later on.
So thanks, Rodolphe. Gaëtan, you shared with me during the preparation that it came with a realization about how much you were losing in revenue from your customers. That's when you really started to build formal customer success.
Yeah. So what happened? So we started building the customer success team at about 6 or 7 million in ARR. And that happened end of 2016. And it happened at a time where the initial large deals that we closed them in mid-2014, end of 2014. And about a year in, everybody brags about the fact that you don't have churn when you start because people love you. They may love you, but they change jobs as well. And what happens, and we started seeing that, is people changing jobs, and we hadn't built a necessarily really good or solid relationship enough with the other members inside those organizations. And what is the first thing that someone does when he joins into a new role? They change what the previous person did. And we realized that. And we were a little bit caught off guard on a couple of deals. And that's kind of what triggered that realization that we really needed customer success organization. Not in the fact that we're not customer focused or customer centric, but really needed to build deep relationships in those accounts.
Fanny, maybe do you want to?
I was just realizing that you're mentioning my previous company. Maybe because in my current company we only have 5 clients, but when you think about it, each client represents 20% of our revenue, so we have to take good care of them. Actually, our first customer success manager, he was a project manager at the time. She was our first employee in my current company, and we needed someone to make sure that our clients and the different users of the solution would be able to actually use the solution. So it was totally vital to start our actual work with a customer success manager. In my previous company at Linkfluence, we started to hire a customer success manager with our first big account. And a big account in this company means that they have several business units, they have several kind of users, mature users of this kind of product, and not mature users. So we needed to train users in a different way. So we had like complex and very different problematics inside one client because it was several customers and users.
Okay, thank you. The other day we were chatting, Gaëtan and I were chatting, when is the right time to start a customer success team? I think pretty much we all agree that we are always 6 to 12 months late, right? So we needed it like 6 months back is the answer. I think whether we know it or not, many a times we all start with customer support. But mostly when what we treat as customer support is all inbound inquiries that come in from customers when they are trying to do the job and they want an answer, they are trying to reach out to you. But many a times there are so many people inside your customer's organization who need your help, but they don't know that you are the person they should reach out to because you can help them figure it out faster. And that's exactly, in my definition, is customer success primary job, and which means that it is actually needed from the very beginning, the moment you actually start making money, where you need to reach out and then ask them, hey, do you need any help? It's just that we don't have the bandwidth to do it.
Yes, indeed. So once you have figured out that customer success was a thing, there is a program, there are people officially in charge, you have different typologies of customers, you have different sizes, different revenues. You even have customers who are actually not customers because they are not paying you. Either you have a freemium model or you have clients who are on a trial basis. How do you spread your customers into that program? How do you handle customer success for people for which it's not profitable to actually deliver customer success? So maybe, Gaëtan, if I can get you to react.
So today our customer success team focuses on accounts that are at about 20 or 30K in ACV and above. So that represents the majority of our revenue. And back to your point, the big difference between support and success. Success is here to unlock the value of your product. It's not on your customer to really grasp and unlock that value. It's on us to make sure that this happens. Support is a little different. Support is when they need your help. Success is really your job to make sure that they implement, adopt the features and all of that. So that's why we focused on this sort of like mid-market and enterprise tier. One thing that we were discussing the other day, we don't have any transactional customer success approach yet on our long tail, which represents thousands of customers. So today, with this group of customers, it's still very much a support kind of approach. And I think this is something that we should change because there's those thousands of customers who don't represent a large revenue today. They're your future upsell opportunities. And there are also word of mouth for you. So it's free lead gen, free marketing. So I really think it's something that we should focus on, and we're starting in 2019 to think about how we can approach the transactional program for CS.
Yes, Krish, please.
We do have this particular challenge because we have a freemium model for our product, but because of the nature of the business, our success is dependent on, Chargebee's success is very much dependent on them making more money, which defines our success, right, as a billing system. But the problem is, how do you profitably offer this to unlock value and help them get more out of the product when they are not even a paying customer, right? So I think in our marketer was joking that he wanted to set up a baby customer success team, right? Which means that people at the idea stage and then are actually making the initial versions of the product and using it. How do I do this at scale in a way that it makes sense for us, and yet you are actually offering help, right? But it's not something new at all, but we just had to anoint a team and say, hey, your job is to make the customer successful, and then said, okay, now figure out all the webinars, not for acquisition, but only to train up the customers, right? So their job only becomes writing content or delivering help to customers proactively, and also inviting them into different stages of the businesses, inviting them and conducting training sessions depending on what the customers want, but at a scale which makes sense for us, right? Where you're bringing in 10, 20 customers at a time, answering any questions related to that. So we call it a baby customer success team and part of marketing. Yeah, not something traditional, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Fanny, you did mention moving into a different kind of ball game with some extremely large customers and having to effectively restructure the way your customer success is working. Do you want to maybe elaborate a little bit on
sure.
that?
The thing is that we started with the account managers. And we had a support team. I think when we're talking about customer success teams, it's really something really diverse, and the goal is the same for the entire team. It's success of the customer, but let's be honest, it's success of our solution, our products. And well, it can be called support, it can be called account management, it can be called customer success managers or client service, etc. It's the same goal. And Gaëtan, I agree. And I want to ask the question, when is the right time to split support and customer success? When is the right time to split account managers and customer success? So it's a real question. Another question I would have loved to ask to the previous panel is, how do we price customer success? But maybe we'll talk about that afterwards. Anyway, in my previous company, we had account managers to start with because we thought that the graal was renew and upsell. And we realized that success was about something else than just renewing and upselling. And afterwards, we realized that maybe we should go back to our previous organization and maybe merge account managers and customer success, because it makes so many point of contact with the client. And it's another topic that maybe we can talk about. How do we find the right level of and the right amount of points of contacts?
So Rodolphe, what about you?
That's a problem we had trying to shape the customer success team and seeing how customers goes from sales to maybe an onboarder, then a customer success manager, then an account manager for managing the upsell, etc. Clearly, what we've learned when we're trying to streamline this process too early, that what was bad thing for the customer, and so we revert back on the strategy on that. The first thing we separated was really support and customer success. Support being providing assistance to the customers, helping them with the product when they need assistance. And why we did that, it was very because the daily job was not the same. Customer support, it was mainly answering tickets quickly with a good response rate, satisfying the customers by the time to response. And on the customer success, it was more educating the customers to have him use your product repeatedly, and then so basically increase your net and MRR churn in the end. So yeah, that's why we split it both. The mistake we've made at that moment is we merge onboarding with support. Saying that, okay, these people doing the assistance can also manage tickets of new customers being in and then onboarding them on the product, etc. And yeah, it was not the same job at all. And it was very hard for the person working on it to jungle from tickets and assistance and making sure that the customers was well involved.
Well, actually, that's a very good point. What do you guys expect from your customer success? What is their primary mission? What do you expect for the change to the product, to the company, to the organization? And also, how do you measure them? Because, you know, talking to each of you, I was assuming, well, customer success, it's easy. I mean, it's about net churn and measuring churn. That doesn't seem to be always the case. I think each of you had a very different way to measure the effectiveness of customer success, to compensate them, to measure their performance. So I don't know who wants to get started. Fanny, you had some points there.
Thank you. Well, obviously, we expect success, as I said previously, of our solution, and we expect renew. We expect CSMs, that's how I call them, to sign and to fight churn and to upsell, etc. What is a relevant way to help those people to reach their goals is to set up milestones in time, different steps they need to reach, and it's an easy way then to measure this success. And what does work, in fact, is to make sure that those people are both the voice of the client inside the company and the voice of the company at the client. And there are some very easy milestones that can be settled, like mapping the client's organization and understanding what are the key success and performance indicators at the client. And I would recommend that the customer success people are as intimate as possible with the client. For example, if they are able to know how the customers, how the users are incentived, what is the incentive plan, they can then know what is the criteria and the indicators of success for the client, so how the solution can help the client to reach success, and then it's a win-win. So this first step, understand the client, map the client, understand the needs, of course, understand what is the true reason of why they use the solution and not another one. So spending a lot of time with the client. And on the other side, second set of milestones, become a product expert and get to know the solution very, very well. And I think it's extremely important to be an expert of the product when you become a CSM. And then third set of milestones and criteria that you could implement are about how you onboard, how you implement, and how you process and document the onboarding. It's really important that a CSM could find the right tools, ticketing tools, because in my current company, we have the customer success are the people taking care of the support, so they had to find the right tools, so that can be a milestone as well. Implement the ticketing tool, find the right one, and then document everything that is useful to process the onboarding, meaning that if the person leaves, and if you want to reproduce the onboarding process in another country, etc., you have everything that has been documented. So that's kind of objectives that I set with
okay.
the people.
So no actual numbers, no KPIs in terms of net churn.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Okay.
I've always been a huge fan of a mix of quantitative and qualitative criteria for variables. But I think it's important that you set timings and milestones to measure. You can't just say, okay, you renew the client. If you don't renew the client, if you don't double the revenue, you don't have your incentive at the end of the quarter. You need more precise steps sometimes.
Krish, how do you measure your customer success team?
The way we look at it is we didn't start with a number, but we look at it as a way to change behavior, right, of our team. Because you don't want to put incentives that drives wrong behavior in terms of pushing the customer, right? One thing I really loved of what Gaëtan told about Algolia's customer success is the upgrade and all those conversations are in the sales team, and success is all about ensuring adoption, right, and continuous usage. And the way we have looked at it is in two parts as a team. One is the NPS and happiness as one group of people, and just account management as a separate group. And for each of and both of them come under customer success, and we have different KPIs for each, right? The account management team is the one that focuses on revenue churn, upgrade conversations. So they have all their KPIs around that. The NPS and the happiness team focuses on adoption of features and the NPS, of course, right? And the various metrics, which all relates to product usage alone. So that is how we have divided the customer success team today. But there is still a long way to go. Even now, we are just beginning the revenue-based incentive for customer success, because all of that is today part of our sales conversations today.
Okay. And Gaëtan, you described to me your customer success as project managers, not necessarily deep technical experts, but more people who ensure the success of implementation. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So our CSMs are still wearing many hats, just like I guess with you guys. So they take over the account once the deal is signed. Typically, we try to introduce them in pre-sales, just so that there's not like a clear cut once you sign the deal. So because also CS is an actual value for us, it's almost like it's part of the product and the offering. So once the deal is signed, we track the time to go live. So typically we try to, for instance, in mid-market, we try to be at 80 days to go live. And enterprise is a little bit different, but that's a really clear metric to track. Because if it takes too long, you know that you've passed the sprint and it's going to be pushed back to another quarter. So there's time to go live, and then once the account is live, they run regular QBRs with the accounts. Again, the whole mission of customer success is to deliver on the business case that we build pre-sales. If we pitch in pre-sales that in e-commerce, for instance, their average conversion rate is going to go up by 10 points, we got to make sure that in post-sales that this actually happens. As far as the comp goes, right now they're on an 80-20 split, so 80% base, 20% variable. And the variable today, I'm not super happy about it, but is linked to the lost revenue on the portfolio that enters a quarter. So we don't look at the added revenue, so we have negative churn on our portfolio. We just look at the amount that is lost on the portfolio, and we allow per quarter a loss percentage-wise between 1.5 and 2.5%. So which means that if you enter a quarter and your portfolio is worth, your book of business is $1 million, we allow you to lose only $15,000 to $25,000 in a given quarter. Not looking at the actual expansion, just looking at the loss. So that's kind of how we do that. And if you are under 1.5, we accelerate. So that there's also a strong incentive. If you overperform in terms of retention, you get extra incentive. Okay. And Rodolphe, what about Spendesk?
That's very interesting how you do it at Algolia. On our side, there is the metrics you follow and then the incentives of the team. One particular thing about our business is that we don't have a renewal from our customers. I mean, if you want to go, you go. And clearly, we have a land and expand strategy. So customers start small and then expand their usage, etc. So the metrics we are following in terms of KPI is clearly the NPS of our customer, understanding why, and really analyzing every customer feedback when it's bad and when it's good, and the net MRR churn. But the incentive of the team on the customer success part and on the support part, it is really on the logos churn, so kind of what you've got, so the customer that left, to understand why they left the product, which we have very low at the moment, but we're still a young company, and more on the growing usage. And as we're still learning, shipping new features every time, because the product continues to build every day. We've got special actions. For instance, we shipped a feature of he received a vault into Spendesk, so special action for the customer success team to try to get this feature enabled to a certain number of customers.
Okay, well, that's great stuff. So maybe I'd like to move now to the skills that are required for customer success. Fanny, you said that you wanted your customer success managers to be deep product experts. Krish, Chargebee has a very diverse type of points of contact within the user base. You told to me that you needed accountants, developers, IT guys. I found that very interesting. Maybe you could tell us a little bit how you're building the team.
Sure. So as a product that plugs in when the discovery happens through developers and product managers, but most of the time they need to forget that we exist, right? And then leave it to the accountants and customer support and the rest of the organization to use the billing product, right? So the way we thought about it initially was the best support people, the solution experts moved into customer success, because this is also one of the things that one of our mentors told us is, don't try to give a new job to someone that you don't understand, a new job that you don't understand. Don't try to hire a new person for that, right? Instead, try to have someone who's already established in their organization to take over before you recruit others, right? So it always makes sense to just bring in your best customer support people into customer success as your first few members. And then one person that we recruited was a power user from our own customer base. We didn't poach, but the person was leaving, and then an accountant who wanted to shift career to customer success, right, said, hey, I'm leaving this company, I'm looking for next opportunity, can I join? Now then we built a small set of accountants inside customer success team, because it integrates into accounting systems, and we need to understand that better and then need to teach them. Then we also have people who need to be a little salesy when it comes to handling upgrade conversations, because there is this account management team, right? And you don't want everybody like us, right? Where I go in and then I'm only offering solution, but I'll never make money if I actually go into that mode, right? Where I'll just be like, okay, enable this feature, this feature. But you also want people who actually stick to the rules and say, okay, so this is the package, and then these are the features that are available, and here is why you need to pay up, or negotiate a 6-month, 1-year upfront payment, right? If there is an opportunity to actually reduce churn, increase retention. So you look for people who are solution experts, people who have a sales inclination, people who need to have domain expertise. At least these three are important if you look at it at a generic level.
Well, so, and Gaëtan, you are selling a deeply technical product that is implemented by developers. Do you need your customer success to know how to call an API or that kind of good stuff?
No, not necessarily. It's better if they went through like a boot camp or something like that. But typically during a hiring process, we test them on the configuration of the engine. So we have a dashboard that they can play with, which requires a little bit of technical chops. So we test them on that to see how they understood the product. So, and then just sidetracking a little bit on the actual hiring process and how we test folks. We act as a customer, Best Buy, that a salesperson closed, and we're just assholes. We're horrible. And we just tell the candidate, you know, we don't understand how the thing works, like whatever, and the candidate is supposed to teach us during the process, 30 minutes. And back to the question you asked earlier, what kind of behavior we're looking in terms of customer success. Of course, you need people who are very empathetic and who really care deeply for the customer, but you also need folks who can stand their ground and who are capable of changing or changing other people's behavior. And how we test that about standing their ground during the hiring process, we literally beat the candidate down, and by saying we're not happy, your sales folks sell us crap, blah blah blah, you oversold us, no. And at the very end, when the candidate it's really tiring, and at the very end, we tell the candidate, all right, so obviously you guys are going to give us a discount, right? Because we haven't been live for the past 3 months, you know, it's unacceptable. And at that moment, you can tell who's in and who's out. Because the people who say, of course, they're out.
I'm out.
And people who say, well, first off, let me talk. So what you really care about is having the solution work, okay? So give us 1 week or 2 weeks. And if that doesn't happen in 2 weeks, we'll talk, right? So the candidate never gives up on the actual mission of the job, which is getting the implementation live and successful. So that's kind of the little tricks that we use during the hiring process to test those personality traits.
So anybody interviewing at Algolia this week? Now you know the answer. Rodolphe, are you so tough with your candidates?
Not yet, but that's a very great idea. I think we should do that. No, on my side, for the moment, we're not particularly looking for hard skills for candidates, for instance, being from the financial teams and knowing exactly the financial jobs of our customers. We really believe that we can train them on that. Yeah, it's more soft skills that Gaëtan said, strong empathy, listening for customers, and really standing in front of them. I would add also the capacity of, I mean, they're on the front line and mostly for the support team. So when you're bad, sometimes it can happen that you're bad at product and you ship something you never should have shipped. Then your customers have bugs, etc. So yeah, these guys, they are always under the fire, and they need to really have the capacity to step back, understanding what's the problem, and go back to the customers to help them solve that.
And so, Fanny, one thing we discussed when we were preparing was the fact that you are selling solutions to maybe customers that are a little bit different from your typical enterprise IT shop, that you were dealing with people on the warehouse floor, that you were dealing with creative directors, so probably a little bit more diverse than your default configuration. How does that affect the skills that you need for your customer success?
Yes, indeed, it was very exotic. I was used to work with community managers and marketing directors, and then I realized that my actual customers were photographers and artistic directors and stylists. And well, what I had to do is to find customer success people who knew this environment. So I went to find photographers, and I went to find all the stylists and visual merchandisers, etc. So that would be one other skill that I would add. I totally agree with what you said, guys, and I agree with what you said. We need to have salespersons. They need to be able to say no, but in a very technical market like mine currently, I need to find a person who know the reality of working in warehouses and working with garments and mannequins, etc. So I tend to look for people who have a background. And the ideal top skill that I'm looking for is also an experience as a customer success manager, because then they have processes and they have ways and methods that I'm so glad to steal, from other companies. So that's the ideal.
So maybe as a real quick conclusion, because we are running out of time, which tools are your customer success using? Are they more on the CRM, the same as salespeople? Are they on a ticketing system? Do they have their own standalone application to track their activity? So let's go in order, Gaëtan.
So first, it's Totango. First, Salesforce and Confluence.
Okay. Rodolphe?
On our side, it's mostly Intercom and Sales Machine for the customer success.
Fanny?
We don't have any proper tool right now, but at Linkfluence we were using Confluence, and I recommend it highly. And
Krish?
Right. So for ourselves, we use Churn Zero. Our customers use Sales Machine, Netero, PlanHat, and of course Intercom in some cases.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much.